Well, this is awkward. My story is about Tom Pfeiffer's first love and the bar fight we got into while we were battling personified insomnia. So, my name's Mike Kasdan. They made me an executive editor, too, earlier this week. Thanks for coming out. My story doesn't have a title. All stories start in the middle, even though we always say in the beginning. This story is no different. My story starts in the summer of 2013. It was a hot run-through-the-sprinklers kind of day, and the kids' duffel bags were packed for sleepaway camp. They were leaving the next day. They were at the swimming pool. I was someplace else entirely. The doors behind me clicked together and closed softly. The first thing I noticed was the floors. Polished, oaky, nice brown floors. Floors that were supposed to evoke some sort of comfort, like a living room. But it looked like a hospital. Fluorescent lights extended down the hallway that went on forever. An antiseptic glow. And it smelled like a hospital. Sickness masked with disinfectant. And I looked up at the room I was in, and it was filled with people sitting in hospital gowns around a television. The only voices I heard, though, were disembodied voices from some reality television show. I was in a room full of people. I've never felt so alone. My roommate was a young man who tried to kill himself. Brian was a tall black man lying in green hospital scrubs, cocooned on the bed, long arms, long legs sticking out from under the sheets because mostly what he did there was sleep. He had a long black, long-stemmed rose tattoo on his left cheek. When he wasn't sleeping, we did have a chance to talk, and he shared his story. He had tried to hang himself while in prison. He said to me, "It didn't work, so I'm here." He smiled at me, and he said, "We have so much in common." And then he stopped smiling. I wasn't smiling. Inside my voice, inside my head, I was screaming, "I don't belong here." The only thing that there seemed to be to do there was sleep, and I couldn't quiet my mind for a minute. I brought books and magazines, and I looked at the pages and saw nothing. I sat, I rose, I paced, and that feeling, pacing, was coursing through me. I couldn't sleep, and my hands were shaking. It was 3 in the morning, it was 4 in the morning. I remember when I came in, they gave me the standard issue, mauve-colored plastic wash bin with a travel-sized Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo. No tears, it said, naturally. I remember looking at the mirror in the bathroom, and ugliness was looking back at me. It was like being in one of those dreams where your teeth are falling out, where your hair is falling out, where you feel like you're literally falling apart. But it wasn't a dream. I felt like I had. The summer of 2013 was the culmination and the worst episode of depression that I'd had. I was alone in my house on that Sunday, and that led me to the kitchen where there were knives, and then up the stairs and out the little step stool that I set up by my third floor window, where I laid on my roof, panicking and scared, until my parents drove up and I broke down in tears. Later that afternoon, after panicked phone calls and screaming and crying, I remember coming to the emergency room. They didn't let me go home. Instead, I checked into the 8th floor, the mental ward, for my own safety. It is an odd feeling standing up here and listening to myself tell this story about myself. Because when I'm well, I feel like that can't be me. But also I know that it is, because I remember all of these details. I never had an episode of depression until about 5 years ago. And since that time, from time to time, I've had episodes of varying lengths and intensity. And I still do battle and with trying to figure out why it's so, why this happened, but at the same time I do sort of know. I know that it happens when life falls out of alignment, when I get in situations where the stress in personal and in work intersect in a way that my brain can't think a way out. It's my mind saying very strongly, I don't like this, when you can't see a way forward. It's hard to convey what this feels like. There was a dream that I used to have, a recurring dream when I was a kid. And it goes like this. I'm alone standing in the dining room, and my mom's in the adjoining room on the phone. She was on the phone a lot. And then I see it, and it's huge and amorphous and red, and it is coming towards us. It's coming for her, and it's coming for me. And I lift my voice to scream out, and no words form. And I'm tugging on her dress, and she gives me the no look. 1 second. And I start to scream, and nothing comes out, and then it is upon me. It's like an autoimmune disease of the mind, where your mind tells you stories that you're ugly, where it abandons you, where the centers that you use for decision making and for feeling love and beauty and friendship and connection all abandon you. And that's what happened to me on July 23rd, because it stacks and it stacks until each day gets harder, until there's no place left to go. I left that place after 5 days early. It wasn't the right place for me. And as I stand here today, I can't even really see the line from that place to where I am now. It shocks my system that that place is a part of my story at all. But my depression didn't pass until weeks later after I left. And here's how that works for me. It just stops. So I just hang on for dear life, and then one day the fog lifts and I'm given my mind back. And it does seem that way, but also that's not really true. Because it's not just magic. Because I also know that it's also about confronting pain and sadness and seeing a way through. So I hope that I'm never again in a place like that I never have an episode of depression like that. Because when that happens to me, my mind abandons me. I hate that my mind can abandon me. I hate that I can shut down. But looking back, I can say that going through that from there to here, it also makes me feel more alive because I know myself honestly, my whole self, better than I did before. That I have light and I have darkness, and that they fit together in some weird way that makes me me. And we all do. I used to hide the dark parts, but I'm not going to do that anymore. In the end, when I see you, that's just the part you let me see. And when you see me, that's the part I let you see. We're all telling stories. This one was the middle of mine, and it's also a beginning. Thanks for letting me share it tonight.